I love watching the people stream in there. I'll see the quantity, the count go up, and then like back down. It's like, oh, why did I click on this? I didn't mean to click on it. I just got the notification for it. Yeah. There we go. There's the YouTubes. Make sure that Twitch is updated. What? Oh, yeah. Gotta keep them separated. All right, those are looking good. We already have 4 likes. We haven't even done anything. Rain 101, Rain 102, Rain 103. Thank you so much for your likes. Oh. Get that. Rain 202. Oh, we got a group. Nice. Thank you, Romega. That's my brother. Yeah. I'll love it. I'll have the splash screen up as I'm obviously like still tooling around, and my brother will be like, "Just waiting on you." And it's like, I know. Barky bark. Oh, God. I don't want to restart my freaking browser. I'm getting a cough drop in here. I'm going to try and mute myself when I cough. You probably will still hear it, but the chat probably won't. I fucking hate this part of the cold. I fucking hate it. Oh no. Let's take a whole bunch of tests and find out. Alright, here is a cat that is stepping all over the Chromebook. He is running around. Okay. He's doing it. Alright. Are you guys ready? Alright, as ready as we can be on this world-class Hollywood production hosted straight out of my apartment. Freaking great. Alright, I'm going to give the intro. I'll do the introduction. We are just going to freaking roll from there. And here we go. Hey, reviewers! What's up? It may not be the first, but it is the Nth Forum. You see what I did there? If you watch my videos, you know what that's coming from. Hey, this is episode 2. We made it to episode 2, guys. It's June 24, 2021, and like I was telling the chat, the panelists here that I'm about to introduce, every time I look in this light, I see myself on not on mute. I'm not muted. Thank God. Hi, everybody. I see my glasses are all cleaned up. I don't want to waste any more time introducing my incredible panelists. Let's see here. Boom, boom, boom. Video editor and Cloverfield Stan. It's Viktoria with a K. How you doing?
Hi there. I'm doing well. How are you?
I'm hanging in there, and I'm trying not to cough directly into everyone's head.
Yes.
I mean, and then cats back there. And then also, political commentator and Salt Factory on Twitch. It's Rain. Everybody, welcome.
Hi.
That's you, buddy.
I
got the wide shot here. I've got all of us in one panel. See, now you can see, finally, you can see, look, okay, we got some Brady Bunch thing going on. So it's like, then the one day the podcaster was with this lady, and then Rain, and that is whole bunch of people. Hey, Kat, how you doing? How you guys doing?
Apparently we have Echo as guest.
Apparently we have Echo as guest. Let me see if I can get in here. See, I knew there would be some fun parts in here.
He just really wants to listen to us. We've got a lot of really good things to say. We need to hear it
That's
twice.
Accurate.
Yes.
That is accurate. Who's echoing? On both of their voices? How dare you? Meow. Boom, boom, boom. Let me get... obviously, guys, live production here. This is great. Let's crank it.
Gonna do it live.
Fuck it. Let's bring it on down here. Is that any better?
Let's find out.
Yeah, I don't know. Are we still echoing?
Yeah, let's find out if there's an echo.
Yep.
Oh my God.
All caps.
All good.
All
fixed.
good. Fixed.
Hell
then
yeah.
Why did you say
Awesome.
yes, Crash?
Crash.
Oh, no.
Thank you, everyone, for chipping. Jason Kelly were not able to make it in this week, but hopefully next week. I've got this thing set up for 5 of us, okay? So, we can have an entire circus happening at once. I'm just going to exhale for a second there.
Yeah, just take a moment.
Just take a moment.
All here.
You know what?
This live stream, it's fine.
I was set up. I was good to go, and then it's like, emergency! Voices are echoing. Oh shit! And it's like, God, which lever do I need to press to get that done? Cool. So it's been awful today outside, and I was really late getting in here, setting all this up. As you may notice, if you were watching the first episode, I've redone all the graphics. I did all of it this weekend. Very thrilling, very exciting. And you may notice that I've got the rotating social media thing down below. That was an innovation I brought over from the green room. I'm just swapping stuff back and forth.
Yeah,
so that's how it does. I've been learning.
Frankenstein's monster of streaming.
What's that?
Frankenstein's monster of streaming.
Yeah.
Just cannibalizing all of these different things and slapping things together, and it looks great, and nobody can see how, it's like code, right? If it works, it works, and please don't go and investigate how it works or why or how ugly it is or any of that. Just be grateful it works, and let's move on.
I'm testing the individual cutaway angles here. Yeah, all I see is blonde, brunette, redhead.
Right.
That's all I got on my end. So it's awful today. I was late coming in. I was like rushing around, and I'm bringing you guys up to speed. I want to make sure that everything's cool. We had such a fun time ahead of the stream, getting set up, and I'm sitting there frantically like, set this setting, move this thing over here. What's going on? I got to create this. Illustrator, please export this in the right file, and go from there. So I'm glad we made it this far. We're not dead.
Yay.
We're all here.
Yes.
The gang's all here.
The gang.
Like in SpongeBob.
God,
Except we're not. I guess it's only about half of us, but that's fine.
And there's Kirby letting us know that he's here too. He is the podcast cat. And Whisper, I'm sure, will hop in from time to time.
Yeah, but he quiet. That's
yeah. Well, Kirby, actually, he just turned 2 the other day. And I think this might be his terrible 2s. I don't know what years are for cats. Because cats last a very long time. But I think he's probably 7. Maybe.
Does it work like dog years? Is it like,
that's what I'm theorizing.
One human year is like 7 dog years or whatever.
Yeah, that was my, like, maybe there's an arithmetic to it all. But he's in his terrible 2s, and I'm trying to figure out. I'm trying to love him in a way now that I don't think he's ever been loved before. I don't think he's used to it. I got him when he was just a itty bitty little kitty, and. This is my first time as a cat dad. There's a lot of things I do not understand about cats. So, we'll go from there. I don't know if you guys saw, but Windows 11 was unveiled today, and they've been kind of leaking it out. But I thought it was kind of a joke because Windows 11 is such a weird name.
Yeah.
And looking at the features, it doesn't look like I don't know. I don't know if there's like enough there.
I didn't think it could get any further than having the weather down in my bar down here. So
right.
Apparently it gets better.
That was obnoxious. I think I don't know. I mean, having like sort of looked over it, I'm not terribly surprised because Microsoft has been in sort of all aspects, right? Like trying to unify rather than they're trying to be at the center of unification, right?
Right.
So you have Apple that is very proprietary, right? And very sort of a walled garden in 1,000 different ways. And Microsoft is trying to go the other direction and say, well, okay, Apple can hang out in their little walled garden, and we will be the sort of hub between Samsung and Google and Xbox and all of this sort of stuff, right? Like, and I think demonstrating that and trying to attract more people to the to Microsoft when it comes to mobile and all of that sort of stuff is the profit sharing on apps. From this CNET article, Microsoft Store, they get 100% of the revenue generated from it. And I think that's Apple has always been where apps go first, right? Like everything's optimized for iPhone because so many people have them. But if you can optimize for the Windows Store, right, the Microsoft Store, and get 100%, right, of your sales from there, then maybe people will start to develop for that primarily instead, right? So you're trying to find all of these different ways. This is like classic Windows versus Mac stuff. We're back in that world, right? Of like Apple is doing things their way. They're doing things in their own sort of like distinctly Apple way. And here's Windows trying to counteract that, right? And it's moved into mobile, it's moved into web apps and all of that sort of stuff. But the same conflict, right? Like whose hardware are you using, whose software are you using is still there.
And that's been the PC thing, right? It's been Windows, because I remember my dad got his first PC in '94, right? And back then you had a small section for Mac games and software and stuff like that at the Best Buy in those big boxes back in the day. And then everything else worked for Windows. And it didn't really matter if you bought an E-machine or a Packard Bell or, a Gateway or something. Everything just worked. And I remember with Windows 98 in particular, I was rebuilding that machine from install every 6 months or so because I would download the wrong MP3 one time, and it was suddenly I don't have any space left on C. So it's come so far. And another big thing that spun out of that was a couple years ago when Epic Game Store came out, and everyone's revealing, hey, on Steam, they're taking 30% of your revenue. And that is a lot.
Yeah.
So the fact that it was 100% through the Windows Store, that's pretty rad. That's pretty good. I wonder how that carries over. I'm looking at the article too. I wonder how that carries over to Xbox, because there was a rumor that they were going to try and match Epic, because Epic does a 12% share. So Epic takes 12 and the developer gets to take 88. There was rumors that Microsoft's going to do that, but I don't know if that applies to Xbox.
I don't know. I didn't see anything about that, but I mean, I think the Game Pass is really sort of like their play. I don't think you're going to see any significant changes to that side of things, because there's really no incentive for them to, right? They have Game Pass, and you spend like a Netflix subscription to get like 50 free games for however long you want to play them, or whatever, right? Like,
right.
And that's like Game Pass. We were talking about it before we got on, when we were talking about what games we're playing, and I'm like, I remembered I have Game Pass, and downloaded like four different games that I've wanted to play that are included with that. And I think for Microsoft, the challenge is going to be breaking away from just being a console thing, right? Like, PCs are where people go to game, right? And you go to game on your Xbox or whatever. But Microsoft is seen as this console studio, this console sort of oriented thing. So you want people to bring a console UI and a console setup to their PC. Like, no, I game on my PC because I don't want it to do the things that a console does. You know what I mean?
Right.
And they've been trying that for years. Remember back at the end of the aughts, they were doing the Games for Windows Live thing. With Vista, you had the Windows, or the Windows Experience Score, I think is what it was called. So it's like you would just have, there would be one number on the back of each game, and you could just run this test, and the Windows would tell you, oh, your computer's a 2.3, and you need a 7.8 to play Lego Star Wars Battlefront or something like that. And they tried that, and they just didn't support it enough. And they would integrate things, and like, maybe it'll work this time. Who knows?
Yeah. Yeah, Silverman says here in the Twitch chat, like, Game Pass on PC is fantastic, and I agree. And I don't know how many hardcore anti-console PC gamers know how boss Game Pass is on PC. Like, if there's a genre, and I'm not a shill for Microsoft or anything like that, but
what?
I mean, shit, it's a great program, right? I pay the same as I pay for my Netflix subscription to get, honestly, way more like ground out of it, because I can download a game that's 40 hours long, and then finish that and download a game that's 40 hours long or whatever, right? And yeah, I think that Microsoft is really sort of trying to figure out how they can sort of get back into the same antitrust trouble they were in the 90s, where they have their fingers in every single pot, especially now that being as ubiquitous as Facebook and Google and all of those like, there's no consequence for antitrust violations anymore. No. Nobody's going to prosecute you for that. Like, get your irons in the fire. And they tried to get into the mobile market with Windows Phone, and they've tried all of these different ways.
I'm so sad about that still.
Over the years. But like, their vision clearly hasn't changed that much, of like, we're not going to do like console exclusives. We're not going to do exclusive this, that, or the next thing. You can buy our game on Steam or Epic or Microsoft Store. We don't care. Like, we just want you using Microsoft stuff to do whatever it is that you're going to do.
And it's interesting.
And honestly,
that's actually how Microsoft used to be. Victoria?
Yeah. Right. Oh, just, I recently made the switch over to PC back in January, with everybody else staying at home. And Game Pass was honestly one of the biggest reasons why I switched. I mean, I've got my Xbox behind me, and knowing that I could still be playing things that I've already bought, you know, we're going to talk probably about Sea of Thieves later. I was starting playing it on my Xbox, and now I can play it on my PC, and I haven't lost anything.
Cloud
you know,
saves.
that's one of the exactly. So,
cloud saves and crossplay, because a lot of my internet friends are from the Destiny clan I used to be in, and most of them are playing on console because they're family, you know, they got families and stuff like that, and they're just like, they want to do what consoles do, which is you turn it on and it plays the game, guaranteed, right? Like, you don't have to worry about drivers or any of that stuff with like you might with a PC, or whether your video card can handle it, all that sort of stuff. So being able to play Sea of Thieves and crossplay, and know that Microsoft really supports that, even you know, working with Sony, even though Sony is super exclusive and super anti crossplay and very Apple,
they are very
in the way
old
that they run
school.
Things. They've still managed to sort of like broach some ground, and that's what Microsoft wants. Is they want to have a dog in every single fight, right? And if you have Apple, where it's like, well, you can only use 50% of the stuff that exists, you know, out there, if you have Apple products, or you can come over to Microsoft side, where it doesn't matter what software or hardware or whatever you're running. It doesn't matter if you have Linux or Windows or whatever. If you want to have access to our stuff, you're going to have it. And you're going to be able to play with your friends, or communicate with that Google phone, with your Android, all of this sort of stuff, right? Like, and I think it's the natural play for them, right? Like, nobody wants to live inside Microsoft's walled garden because it's not that good. Apple is slick and polished and very heavily curated to give you this like really high-end experience very simply and easily. And Microsoft, I think, naturally is stepping into the space that is not occupied by that. They tried to do it. They tried to be like, we're Microsoft and we know things, and we're gonna do it better than Apple. And Apple's like, no, you're not. Right?
You can't do it.
So okay, if you can't beat them on their turf, then pick up all the ground that they're not covering.
Well, and that was the thing about Microsoft early on in their life. Like, you can go back and see the videos where Steve Jobs is addressing these software developers for Apple, and one of them is Bill Gates. And Bill Gates and Microsoft were making their software for everything. That's how they made their money. So it was IBM clones, it was Apple's, it was, you know, what have you, all these different platforms. And then it wasn't until Satya became CEO in 2014, because Ballmer wanted that walled garden. He wanted Windows to be the place. He wanted you to buy a computer with Windows. He wanted you to buy an Xbox. He wanted you to buy a Windows phone. That's why they bought Nokia. And then Satya's like, no, we're just going to be everywhere. Just anywhere and everything. And you hear Phil Spencer talk about Sony, about like, hey, they're finally bringing games to PC, but you have to buy it again. And then there's no crossplay, there's no cloud saves, there's none of the functionality. It's like it's 1995. It may as well just be 1995. You're selling CDs and DVDs again, and it's hilarious. It's ironic because Sony, it was about a decade ago, they bought Gaikai, which was a streaming platform, PlayStation Now, and you could stream games to your PlayStation 3, and it was ahead of the curve, and because OnLive was out at the same time. And Sony totally didn't catch on what the future was going to be at all. So it's nuts.
I mean, to be fair, the PlayStation 4 soundly beat the Xbox in the last, the Xbox One in sales generation and stuff like that. And the PS5 is the same way. I mean, you can't find a PS5 for now. You can't find a PS5, right? But you can probably go down to the store and get an Xbox Series, whatever the fuck they're called. I don't know. You can go in.
Actually,
I was in Walmart the other day and I saw them chilling there, right? And it's not. And you literally cannot find a PlayStation unless you have an inside track or buy from a scalper, right? Like, the buzz around the PS5 is higher, even though the Xbox I think is cheaper and is still a great console or whatever. So I mean, it seems like that's kind of continuing. So if you're Sony, just like if you're Apple, right? why fix something that's not broken? If you can, if you have these Sony is positioned the way Nintendo kind of always has been, which is like, you're going to come here for our first party titles, our exclusives. Like, you buy a Switch for Mario and Zelda and all of these first party Nintendo games, right? And you buy a PlayStation for Uncharted or Horizon Zero Dawn or Spider-Man or Elden Ring or whatever it is, right? Because you're not going to be able to get that experience elsewhere, and it works for them. I mean, I'm going to get a PS5 at some point. Whenever Elden Ring releases, I will be purchasing a PlayStation 5 and Elden Ring to play it, and it's
an easier story to tell. It's like, in order to get the Sony experience, you have to buy a PlayStation 5 because Microsoft is putting their seed everywhere.
Yeah, but I still think that, that's different, I think, than like the App Store and people's cell phones and their mobile experience and all that, because people are already sort of diversified with that, right? Like, you're in Apple's walled garden, or you're out in the vast frontier of Android, right? And you might have a Pixel or a Note or a Galaxy or some Lenovo thing or whatever it is, right? That all have their own sort of like weird quirks and UI interfaces and stuff like that. Interfaces is the I and whatever.
Right.
ATM machine. And so I think it is a different thing than like, this game only exists, and like app developers have figured that out too, right? Like, Instagram does not exclusively exist on iPhones, although I think it did when it started. There's more. It was
like 6 months or something. Before it came
something like that.
Snapchat was the same way, right? And Snapchat is always sort of like tacked on their Android port. It's not nearly as important as their sort of Apple version. And I think they're trying to entice develop, because there's a smorgasbord of developers. One person can develop an app look at Flappy Bird or whatever, right? Like, literally a person can throw together an app that gets huge and make a bajillion dollars, and you want that to be on your platform, right? You want that to be and it doesn't matter if it's coming to Apple's platform, because there's billions of cell phones on the planet, right? It's not even the same as gaming, where there's millions upon millions of gamers, but like literally everyone has a cell phone. So it's like the beer market. If you can get like literally, if you can get 1% market share nationally, you are a millionaire. Good. You're a millionaire, right?
You're pretty good.
You're not looking to be Budweiser, who only enjoys like an 11% market share, right? Like, that's the peak in America. So like, when you're looking at that kind of volume, you don't care if somebody is looking at Budweiser versus Coors and sometimes picks yours and sometimes picks theirs, right? You're just glad that they sometimes pick yours. They know who you are, right? You're
they remember
just
your
trying
name.
If 50% of the people pick yours over theirs, then you're both making bank. And so it's a different market and a sort of different world. And so I don't know. I think obviously that with Microsoft, the proof is always in the pudding, right? Like, until I find out how buggy a mess it is on release, like, and we'll make up our minds about it then. But their approach, I think, their philosophy towards what they're trying to do, I think, is the right move for them. And I don't think it's bad for consumers either.
Yeah, I realized I'm getting too old for custom like hardware and updates and stuff like that. I used to do custom ROMs on Android. I opted in for Android 12, which is supposed to be out, like later this year. They do it annually, like iOS does. And I opted in, and then all of my apps started crashing on startup. And it's like, I can't use this if all of my apps are crashing on startup. So I rolled it back, and then I found out, you just have to do this like one simple thing, and you're good to go. And it's like, cool, I'm too old for this. I can't be sitting here with the latest version of whatever on day 0 or day -20 and be testing this stuff out, and then have like Premiere not work, or OBS freaking crashes after 10 minutes or something. It's like, I need my stuff. So speaking of needing our stuff, we were talking before the show about Bo Burnham and his incredible new special, Inside. And if you have not seen the new incredible special by Bo Burnham, Inside, which is not all one word, it's on Netflix. And I a couple months ago I actually watched 8th Grade, which is also an amazing movie. Bo Burnham is I see Star in the chat is ready to write a book about Inside, and we were also talking about how everyone is cashing in on what does inside really mean? Is it the opposite of outside? Is it the top of the bottom? I don't know.
I got to pad this video out to 8 minutes to make sure I get ad revenue.
Yes.
Yes. Like, so let's deconstruct this 14 seconds that I found moderately interesting and that no one else has commented on.
I was going to say, who's talked about
like,
this 14 seconds? I gotta look. Look.
Yeah.
Bo Burnham is a genius. It's incredibly shot. It was done over a year, and it's like a quasi satire documentary about the pandemic in a comedy special that is not funny but also is.
I told Star, my partner, she's in the chat, I was like, it's utterly hilarious. I haven't laughed once.
Right. Yeah.
There was a couple of parts in there was like, should I be laughing? This is the part where I laugh. Yes.
Yeah.
This is it. But don't tell anyone.
I mean, he's not saying anything new. I mean, and I think that's kind of why it's been so monumental for people, is that this isn't something new. You know, we're all tired of internet culture, but yet we all still participate in it. You know, that kind of thing. But yeah, I mean, exactly.
You critique it, and yet you participate. Well, yeah, what the fuck else am I going to do?
Exactly. I mean,
not look at Twitter? Give me a break.
It's like Rage Against the Machine. Why are you capitalizing and making money on your records? Aren't you supposed to be raging against the machine?
Yeah, you know, you can't not.
Yeah, and that is Bo. I was talking to you guys earlier about, like, I remember his YouTube days of when he was just starting out and he was just viral hit after viral hit, and now he has like a cachet, and I think he can kind of do whatever he wants, even if he probably is not in the mood or the temperament to do anything that he wants. I'm envisioning a 5-hour sci-fi epic.
I'm sure the guy got paid, like out of his mind for this special.
Sure.
Especially since, he hadn't done anything in years. Like, he hadn't done a live show. He hadn't done a special. He hadn't done anything in years. And so...
He had been in Promising Young Woman, though.
Yes.
And now, I think when you're a multimillionaire, right, who can write their own check anytime they want to, right? Like, if he wants to take another 5-year break and find himself and travel the world and go deep sea diving or whatever it is, right, he can do that. Like, he has the freedom to literally go any direction he wants. And I'm not going to speculate as to what direction that might be because I'm not Bo Burnham. But literally anytime he wants to, like, call up Netflix 5 years, 10 years down the line and be like, hey, I'd like to do another thing, they're going to hand him literally whatever number he asks for, right?
They literally paid Ryan Johnson, well, maybe not him, but like his production, $400 million to make 2 sequels to Knives Out. And I love Knives Out, but $400 million, that's Star Wars money right there. Are they going
Zach
to the moon?
I see we're talking about Zach Stone in the chat. Yeah, I mean, it's old. It's, I think, from 2013, but it's just as good as Inside is, and probably has the same message. I think there's one song from Zach Stone that's identical, I think, to the Emoji song that he uses in Inside.
Which is amazing,
again,
by the way.
Which is amazing that he's still got the same brand, but he's grown so much, especially with things like 8th Grade. I just want to see him produce from this point.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But getting back to the special, I think it's interesting because, like, as a creative and as a content creator and as somebody who grew up, I'm a few years older than him, but grew up with the internet in its like babyest days, right? Not like sort of contemporary kids who are they've been immersed in cell phone culture. Like we grew up in a different time or whatever, right? So there are things in this special that I directly relate to, right? That like hit all the right notes, and yet people who are not me also do, right? People who are not content creators, people who are casual consumers of the internet, who've never streamed a thing in their life or whatever. Like, no matter where you're at sort of in the culture, whether it's comedy, internet, the pandemic, isolation, and all of these things as they sort of like are comorbid with one another, and it resonates with like universally, which I think is really incredible for any kind of like filmmaker to do, is create something that no matter what perspective you're coming from, you can relate to this person. And the sort of like question of how much of the special is performative and how much isn't, is it 100% or is it 0? Even as he's like breaking down and crying, like how much of that is like for the shot rather than for the real emotion, and all of these sort of like this self-awareness, right, of like, I am a content creator, I'm a comedian, I am a professional performer, and also at the same time I'm a person who has real experiences in sort of like wrangling with the stuff that I'm producing, and I don't know, I could also write a book about all of this, but I know, like, you know, the claim, like, you know, it's been done before, and like I think in all of its parts, a lot of the stuff that he talks about has been done before, but I think the way that they overlap and his perspective and approach that he brings is novel. And it is
absolutely.
Sort, you know, it's very sort of 2020.
The composition of it all, not just the literal composition, but just how he throws it together.
Yeah, and 10 years from now, a lot of the references and ideas are probably going to seem really, really dated, right? And
I was having a conversation earlier about is this going to be the reefer madness of the internet? You know, it's too heady for that, right? To have one,
right.
But to have some actual like genuine critique, and you know, whether his tears are real, you know, none of that really matters. It's that it's incredibly genuine. Whether, you know, he's not a white woman on Instagram,
right?
But it doesn't mean that he's not telling those stories. You know, he's told my story very specifically through that. You know, having lost a parent and having a white woman's Instagram, like that. Whether it tells your story or not, you know, you can't be perfect. You can't be perfectly genuine, but he gets as close as I think someone in his position absolutely can. And I can't wait to see if he's got something next, and if he doesn't, you know, what a great thing to end on, but I hope he's not.
I think he's just fully capable of commentary, and I think he just pulls it off so well, because one of the things that I noticed is that he kind of takes the piss out of everyone, and especially himself, and he looks at that under a critical lens of, man, I really, you know, apathy is a tragedy and boredom's a crime. Like, I have to get you content all of the time, or I am fucked, and so are you. And then when he's talking about, you know, is this heaven or a white woman on Instagram? You know, he's telling like both sides, like by just providing a depth to everything that he torches it, and then he's like, but there was something there. There's something there. There's a humanity to it all. So it's easy to drop a comment, be like, yeah, I agree. You know, that sucks. But then he's like, no, think for 5 seconds about this, okay? 10 seconds even. Like, just think about it. There's more to it.
Mm-hmm.
Well, it's like if you go on Instagram or whatever, right, and you see people who are marketing themselves, like Victoria, you were mentioning this on social media, right? The self-promotion of it, and it's very easy, especially when, you know, somebody is marketing themselves, to forget that there's that human being behind it, and it's so. I saw something. My partner sent me something where a guy posted about like a new art project that he's releasing, that he spent a lot of time on, like, you know, and all of this sort of stuff. And then I think later that day or the next day, he posted like a blank slate gray sort of field that said, look how far you've come. And that basic motivational quote or whatever, right, got like 3 times the engagement of the thing that he like was announcing that he labored on, and all of that sort of stuff. And like the sincerity of the human being behind the marketing doesn't really get seen, right? And so you can have this like a Instagram celebrity or Instagram model who like posts a real sincere sort of thing about like their mother dying or something monumental happening in their life, and there'll still be that guy who unfollows because it's not sexual enough, or they're uncomfortable with that vulnerability, or they comment saying like, you're so beautiful, show me your tit. And it's like, it's so easy to buy into the marketing, right? And just sort of see people on Instagram, Facebook as characters.
Right.
And
well, and especially
like
so during the pandemic.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean that was our only escape, and it was captured so well. Is that regardless of your background, the marketing yourself is now your only option. You can't engage with people in real life, so this is going to be your only option as long as this sticks around, and how traumatizing that can be, regardless of who you are.
Right, and you get to that hyperpolarization that we just over the past not years and decades and stuff like that, where people want something that really makes them feel something strongly, and if they don't have it, it's like it might as well just be white noise. And it's that stepping back from the brink and coming back and noticing nuance, and just being like I've been doing all night, is taking a damn breath and just stopping and use your coping skills. See your therapist, get your coping skills in line, and just stop. Criminy. And I think there's some reset coming, if it's not already starting, where we can just stop and live life and kind of introspectively, like Bo Burnham does. Apparently, we can just sit there and just think about life and everything that's happening in the world and how it's attached to everything. That was good. All right. Do you guys want to talk about gaming?
Sure.
I didn't know.
I guess we could do that.
I didn't know if we'd been doing that so far, but Victoria. So I have not been on the Sea of Thieves thing. It looks really cool. I understand you need a gang to really get going on that thing. And I've missed everything. I've been out of the loop. So, and then, of course, at E3, they show off, it's Jack Sparrow with this Johnny Depp alike,
It is Jack Sparrow. They really got the Disney stamp on this little DLC, I guess, free DLC. Uh-huh. I've been playing Sea of Thieves also basically since it came out. You can play it for a week and then it gets overdone or, boring or whatever. Then you come back to it 6 months later and, maybe they've changed a few things and maybe a few things are a little better. And, you play it for a few more days and back and forth. I just started playing the new Pirates of the Caribbean section here, and I want to say, I guess the most impressive thing about it is how dedicated to Disney it is, but at the same time, kind of a superficial way, it sounded like you were describing there. Well, it's good and bad. So it's really impressive that they got all the voice actors back. Not just Johnny Depp was back from what we got from E3, but it seems like there's more. I haven't completed it yet, so I'll have a follow up on this.
Okay, all right. Looking forward to that.
There is a section that will take you through basically the original Disneyland ride, kind of in its own way. But yes, it is very buggy. At least it was for me. So maybe not everyone's experiencing this. I thought it was maybe just, I just downloaded it and it was still having problems. But what I was impressed by was that the physical structure, there's some platforming that's going to be very similar to the way the actual ride works, and has actual sound effects from the ride, from the original ride, not the revised one. So that was really neat, and it takes a surprisingly good build up to get to where you'd think it would be kind of like a, I don't know, I guess like a Kingdom Hearts or something, where all of a sudden Jack Sparrow's on your team, and that's not at all it. And I was actually surprisingly, surprisingly refreshed by that. So, I don't know, will it bring me back to Sea of Thieves for more than a few days? Probably not. And that's the most disappointing part, because while it is fun with a few friends, I still don't think this will be enough to really solidify it. But
you described this gameplay pattern of playing it, basically engaging all the content, and then being done with it for 6 months. And like, that's Minecraft. Like, you open it up, you get on a server, you get in with all your friends, you build all the cool stuff that you've thought about in 6 months, and then
now what?
You're done. It's over.
Yeah. Now what?
Like, nothing. There's not. Well, maybe there'll be an update.
This is the only way they're going to bring a significant amount of people back, is having that association, which honestly, I'm surprised it took them that long. You know, we've been joking that it's just a Pirates of the Caribbean game since it came out, but all right.
And the gameplay loop on Sea of Thieves is basically looter shooter without any of the real loot, and
and without much of the shooter.
Yeah, and not terribly good shooting as it were, right?
Is there like
I think
one
about
or two enemies shooting or something? Is that still an
there's
issue?
a handful of enemy types as far as I recall, and
it's fully crossplay, which again, both a good and a bad thing. Yeah. But if you're on Xbox playing with PC players, you're just dead. Dead. They're
gonna fucking dink you in the head, because that's what you do. And like, you know, it's got like quests and loot and raids and all of this sort of stuff. But like a game like Destiny, right? You have 4 different enemy types and a bunch of different locations and a bunch of different quest lines and things like that. And Sea of Thieves is, you load up on the island, you pick up some quests, which are going to be one of like 4 different kind, right? Find the buried treasure or go and kill the bad guy or whatever. You get a loot crate, you put it on the boat, you go to the next quest, you take all your loot crates back, you see what trash you got, and then you go back out and you're using the trash that you got to buy cosmetic upgrades and stuff for your... Like, there's not a story, there's not a lot to hook you in. So once you get that sort of like itch scratch, right, where you're like, oh man, it'd be cool to like hop in with the homies and go play some Sea of Thieves and grief some other players and steal their loot and stuff. And then after about like 5 or 6 hours of that, you're like, I have extracted all the fun that there is to be found in this video game. Like, even...
And it's consistent every time. It's been that way.
And cool. Like, now I am back to the point where all of the little side quests are no longer novel, and I am just looking to figure out how to get through them as efficiently as possible, to get the like maximum value for my time. And it's like a job, right? Like, how do I extract the maximum value? And you're not like, oh, I wonder what cool new novel surprising thing is going to happen. It's like, I hope nothing new and novel and surprising happens, because that'll fuck up my gameplay loop, right? Like, no, go away, Kraken. I'm just trying to... I got 15 boxes on this ship. Leave me alone, right?
Stop.
And it doesn't feel like fun, engaging, emergent gameplay. It feels like, oh, some guy's griefing me, or, oh, of course this RNG event happens right as we're finished, right? Like, it's a chore. And Destiny gets to be that way sometimes as well, but like, there's new loot upgrades, and there's it's a weekly update of like, what's the new strike, what's the new featured raid this month, or whatever it is,
right?
That encourages that sort of repetition, and they have modifiers to the missions that make novelty out of something you've played 100 times before. Sea of Thieves does none of that.
That sounds like
every 6 months like here's DLC,
you know.
Victoria.
Oh, no, it just seems like such a missed opportunity. I mean, you know, at least with Destiny, you've kind of got, you know, a culture kind of behind it. You'd think, you know, with Pirates, you could do anything and pull that off, but you don't.
That sounds like that's been the subtitle for Sea of Thieves for a while, is Sea of Thieves Missed Opportunity. And it's just been perpetually that way since launch, essentially.
Since launch, yeah.
Yep. Yeah, the upgrades are unremarkable at best. You know, you can't customize to really what you want, and it's just consistently astounding that it's not there when it feels like it was built for it.
The crafting is cooking food so that you can get health back, because we don't have any health recovery mechanics otherwise, right? So we're gonna put it on you to enter this smaller mini game of how long do you cook the meat for, right? And it's not compelling. It's tedious. It's just tedious, where you're like, okay, I burnt the thing. Okay, let's put another one on and count 1, 2, 3, flip it. You know, like it's not the same as like Borderlands, right? Or Destiny, where you're getting, or even I was just thinking about Fortnite, right? Like Fortnite has remained a really popular game because it's constantly adding new content. It's changing its map. It's been the same map for years, but not, right? Like they blow up sections of it or add sections in or change this, or they put in UFOs or weird wild animals and stuff. Oh, and you can play as Master Chief or Lara Croft or FemShep or whoever it is you want. Find a pop culture icon. We licensed it, right? In Sea of Thieves, like it feels
it's like it refuses
absolutely to learn from any of its more successful sort of counterparts, and learn from its successful predecessors, right? Like
it feels like it's just purely by design that they don't want you to have any sort of, even advantage to newer players. If you've put 60 hours into Sea of Thieves, you're not getting anything.
Yeah. 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 You're ultimately, you have a slightly cooler looking pirate or
maybe.
Whatever it is, right? Maybe. But functionally, there is no difference between you and the person who just bought it today, even if you've been playing it for years. And if I haven't played Destiny 2 in a while, but if I go and pull up Destiny 2, I'm going to look like a Destiny player from 6 months ago with ratty, underpowered armor, and then I'm going to look around the lobby and see a dude who's max level and doing raids whose shit is all glow. I mean, it's the MMO thing, right? Like, you see that
the armor
person
that
in town,
match.
Yeah, who's level 80 and like leaves a trail of like rainbows and shit behind them, and all of their stuff is like huge and spiky and glowing, and you're standing there in like your Dark Souls loincloth with a club, and you're like, I want to be that guy, right?
At least it's not like pay to win or something where it's like, man, I spend $60 and then all of a sudden I am also Jack Sparrow.
Well, yeah, that doesn't work for MMOs, right? But like Sea of Thieves could have that kind of progression and that sort of like that sort of feedback or gameplay loop, right? That it could have that, and it could be really compelling and interesting. And it's just not.
I don't think Jack Sparrow's going to save it for him. And as fun as it's to look at from a Disney perspective, it's that's not going to save your game.
Disney's
not what anybody was asking for.
They'll make their bucks, and then it's gonna be like, all right, let's move on to.
They will.
So Forza, what kind of stuff can we get into Forza here? The Jack Sparrow paint job? Can we get a pirate car or something?
Sea of Thieves
Lightning McQueen in Forza.
Yeah, I was gonna say, Baldur, like Sea of Thieves is like has been on Game Pass since day one because its purpose is to get people to buy Game Pass, right? It's this big, beautiful, fun for the friends, cross-play, cross-platform, cross-everything. Come and play Sea of Thieves if you want to burn some time with your buddies, and it doesn't matter if they're on Xbox or whatever it is, right? And it remains on.
It's boring.
Right, but if you pull up a streamer, right? If you watch a streamer playing it, and they seem to be having a fucking blast because they've got all of their friends together, and they're doing this like awesome raid, and there's another group that's coming in and trying to fight them, and they're pulling off these projectile shots, because everything's projectile in the game, and it's clunky, but they're like slaying them and kicking ass and having fun, all of these sorts of things, right? Yeah, you bought Sea of Thieves because of Summit, and you think you're going to have that same experience, and it's like, well, you're watching professional entertainers try to make entertainment out of a game that otherwise has none.
Yeah,
so
they have to make their own fun.
It's great for a streamer if you are a great personality and you can engage with people, because it's basically a vehicle for that, right? For you to create emergent narratives and gameplay loops and things like that. But for the vast majority of people, they're just going to be like, all right, go get the chest. Oh, where's the thing? Right. Oh, there's some guys here. Okay, cool.
Honestly, I think the most fun part of the game is sailing with a full team of people and getting from one place to another. But that's not a game.
That's a screensaver.
Exactly.
That is a lobby, that's a lobby for something. That's an overworld kind of thing.
Right.
It's a minigame, lobby minigame sort of thing, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and that's kind of a bummer because it's been out for like 2-3 years now or something like that, and that's a game like I kind of wanted to get onto, but again, you have to have a group, and we're talking about Destiny and other MMO stuff, and you have to have a cadre, a posse, to really enjoy that. Soloing it sounds like a miserable time.
Yeah, but even Destiny and MMOs have like single player feedback loops, right? Like where you can, you're not going to do the highest level content without like 3 or 4 people at least, right? In big MMOs like WoW, it's, it might be 45 or 60 people. But you can also just log in and do some quests and make some gold and check the auction house and stuff like that. Sea of Thieves, you don't do it. If you're, on your little sloop going solo, is boring. I did that. I was doing a little bit of grinding. Yeah, I did a little bit of grinding when the game first came out, and was like, "Wow, this sucks." I'm gonna wait for the boys to get on. I'm gonna send them a message
in the chat enjoys
and be like, "Let's go."
I remember in 2005, I knew a guy who played World of Warcraft on a private server so that he could solo the content. He didn't want the other people part of that game. He wanted to do Elwyn Forest, and then he wanted to do, that first boss alone after he had properly grounded out. Hogger, yeah. He wanted to do that alone. It's like... Okay, I mean, different strokes for different folks, I guess, but it sounds like this is a nightmare.
But I mean, obviously, that's not the vast majority of people. Yeah.
No, I wouldn't even say it's a minority of people. I think that's just it's an edge case.
Fringiest fridge, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I hope that they give Sea of Thieves.
I'll report back
Please
once I've met Jack and let you know. But I don't have high hopes. Yeah.
Victoria update on Sea of Thieves.
The most boring updates, but all right.
So how's Jack Sparrow? Oh, I don't know. It was like 20 minutes and then it was done. Great.
That honestly, that's what I'm expecting.
Yeah. So. Disney can only afford to pay so much for this cross-media.
Pay Johnny Depp for new voices, surprisingly.
Yeah. Well, we look forward to your update, and I look forward to that becoming a game I want to play. I guess we've just gone from there. Speaking of which, there's this thing called Overwatch, and apparently they have a sequel out. Was it next year or so, or the following year, or something like that? I'm not going to waste any more time talking. You guys figure this out.
Okay.
We're going to figure out Overwatch.
We're going to figure it out. Overwatch, like most Blizzard properties, other than WoW, has been in a real tailspin lately. The lead designer, Jeff, from the Overwatch team, beloved by the community, left.
Oh.
It sort of seems like maybe against his will. All the parties have been mum on that, but it was not I'm moving on to a new opportunity like you normally see in the games industry of like, I'm stepping down from Blizzard to go work for Microsoft or whatever it is, right? I got a better job. It's just like, well, we're parting ways with the guy who has shaped Overwatch and made it the sort of like international phenomenon that it is. It remains this really big property. And they unveiled Overwatch 2 gameplay finally, and announced that it was going to be 5v5, which throws off literally everything, right? Including Overwatch League teams that now do not need to roster an extra player, right? And it's 1 tank, 2 DPS, 2 healer. So literally every Overwatch League and contenders team and everybody else are going to have to cut their rosters. It has this, it looks and feels a lot like Overwatch 1. Nobody really understands, other than this really big, really frustrating and disappointing announcement, what the differences are going to be and why. And Overwatch in general has just like really fallen off. I think a big part of it was Overwatch League moving from Twitch to YouTube, which I think was a huge mistake. And of course, the pandemic affecting all of esports contributed a lot. But I mean, Overwatch has been sort of on the downhill for a while. They haven't really been releasing new heroes at the same rate because they're working on Overwatch 2 or new maps or anything like that. The meta repeatedly sort of jumps back and forth at the professional level between like dive and goats, both of which are kind of uninteresting for players and viewers alike. And I just don't know. I don't know how they're gonna pull a rabbit out of the hat and do some magic on this, because it doesn't seem like Overwatch 2 is any more compelling or interesting than what we already have in Overwatch 1.
Right. Yeah. I mean, I'm in the same boat as you. I mean, again, with Overwatch, I've played it basically since day one, and something happened, about 3-ish years ago, and it just it crumbled, like with the meta that you said. I mean, it's last time I was playing consistently, I think it was with goats, and I don't know. I'm not a shooter. It forced me from healing to playing tank, and that's not what I wanted to do. And I don't see anything getting fixed for Overwatch 2 either.
Yeah, go ahead.
Hang on. As someone who is, again, not into competitive shooters at all, I watched that Overwatch 2, like the unveil, was it last year or something at BlizzCon, and I'm like, so what's the new part? It looks like that, but more. And that's the same feeling I got today out of Windows 11. Like they added a number. It's certainly
similar.
A bigger number. And in the case of Overwatch, it's twice as big, but I don't get it. And I remember Overwatch was a huge deal because it killed Battleborn immediately, which was kind of hilarious. Take that, Randy Pitchford. And I did get a question in the chat here for you guys. This is Colonel Panic 122. He probably doesn't like the direction that Overwatch 2 is going. I'm assuming referring to you, Rain.
I think he's referring to Jeff Kaplan, actually.
What are your thoughts on the gaming industry before loot crates and battle royales versus current day gaming? And where do you guys see that going in the future? Because Overwatch didn't bite into the battle royale thing. Like basically every other shooter had to 2 years ago. Yeah. I would love to hear you guys' thoughts.
I mean, Overwatch is a first-person MOBA in a lot of ways, right? Like that's their whole sort of like deal, and so I don't know that there's space in their engine, right, to accommodate a 50v50 thing, right? Even their PvP stuff or PvE stuff has sort of limited number of really sort of like janky-looking enemies on the screen at any given time. Excuse me. I'm gonna come with the unpopular sort of approach to this subject. Pretty much every game that you pay full price for, you're not paying enough. AAA titles cost in as much as Hollywood productions, right? And when you're still paying $60 for a video game, you're not actually covering the costs. And that's where loot boxes and stuff came from, is how do we generate additional revenue so that we actually turn a profit on this game rather than a deficit, right? Because when you're paying $60 for Overwatch, you're not paying enough. But they know that you're not going to pay $100 for a game, $125 for a video game, right? And so they have to find other ways to make it win. And that's why otherwise, like, sort of successful looking games shut down or fail, is because they're not generating enough sort of secondary revenue, or free to play games, right? Like League of Legends is massively popular and obviously still incredibly lucrative to Riot, despite being completely free to play for like over a decade. And they do it through these microtransactions and loot crates and events that get you to buy the pass and all that sort of stuff, because that's the way that the modern game developer makes money off their game. It's not just from ticket sales alone, right? It's all the concessions that they have to tack on. And I think the future is going to continue down that path because people have shown that they're willing to do it. And back in the early days of I bought a lot of loot crates and skins and stuff like that, not just because I wanted the cosmetics, but because I wanted to support the development of the game, because I knew my initial cost of entry was not actually enough, right? And so I think you're only going to see more of this. I don't think it's something that's like going away anytime soon.
No, I was actually, while you were talking, I brought up the inflation calculator because you were talking about $120 games, and I looked up $70 from 1996, which I think Donkey Kong Country 3, like a lot of those like the cartridge SNES games from that era were like $70-$80, and that's $120.10 today for that one game. That's probably 3 or 4 hours. And games really became $50 in 2000 or so, like PlayStation era, maybe PlayStation 2, and then they became $60 for the Xbox 360. In fact, Microsoft actually kind of pushed back. It's like, no, Perfect Dark and Cameo and these launch titles are going to be $50, and everyone else will charge $60. We'll be the, the loss leaders, I guess. And then everyone went to $60. So there's just so, like, games can be so big, and they can also still be so small now. Because you can have your Grand Theft Autos that are $300 million, when they were made a decade ago, or your Red Dead Redemption, RDR2.
Red Dead Redemption,
Yep, that one, that game. That can be a $300 million game. But then you can also have the people who are still operating out of their basements with a $25 account with Android to, develop for phones and stuff like that. And it's amazing how big that hill has gotten, for that stuff. And I remember, like, 15 years ago, we were talking about World of Warcraft. You used to have a monthly fee. Like, there was MMOs, there was a new one every 3 or 4 months, and you paid $15 a month after you got your 30-day free trial. Right. And you paid $50 up front plus the $120. I know, Kirby. I know it's really sad. And, things are different now. It's just, the loot boxes, like, I don't know about loot boxes. I don't know. Like, the controversy around Counter-Strike coming with like $5 or $10 worth of DLC that was on the discs, and it downloaded like a 35K file to unlock it for your Xbox. Like, that's pretty nuts. So
yeah,
I don't know, freaking.
Yeah, and I'm sure it's a tough balance. Like, I was just talking about the other day, skins in Valorant are so expensive, especially when you're comparing it to something like Overwatch, when the most money I've ever spent on a skin in Overwatch was $20, and that was for a charity skin. Yeah, and then to go over to something like I love the breast cancer skin. It's so good. And clearly was put in a lot of thought. And I'm totally willing to do that for games like Valorant as well, except in order to buy a skin, you've got to shell out a huge chunk of cash. So I'm sure that balance is tough, but I think that's really critical, to keep people around.
Well, the vast majority of like microtransaction, loot box, all of that sort of stuff, it's no different than Twitch or any other site where you promote something. There's whales, right? Mobile games have known about this forever, right? Like, there is a small minority of your player base that is going to spend the vast majority of money that gets spent on your game. And so if you're looking to attract the whale instead of the average person, right? Like, you spend $60 on this game and you never buy a single microtransaction or whatever. They're not, okay, well, whatever, right? We're looking for that 5% of people who are going to spend thousands and thousands of dollars each.
Those 1%ers in there.
Thing. Yeah.
Exactly.
For whom every new battle pass is no option, right? Every new skin that comes out, they're going to buy it.
The people who are keeping Star Citizen afloat.
Right. And so there's that, and then there are the sort of like nickel and dimes that add up, right? It's like Twitch Prime. You spend your Twitch Prime or whatever, or you buy a sub, and you're in an affiliate channel and they have like 10 subs, and that person makes $100 every 3 months, but Twitch is getting their cut every single time. And so you have the nickel and dime added to the whales and stuff like that. And that's how companies can afford to produce new games. So either we accept smaller games that are less expensive and less sort of graphically intense and well produced, or we pay what the actual value of the game probably is, which is closer to $120 or $150, or you have microtransactions. And I think the industry has learned, like, cosmetic only is the way to go, right? Pay to win is no me gusta. EA has the most downvoted comment in Reddit history because
that was so great.
Battlefront 2 was pay to win sort of at the start.
We want people to really feel like they're earning their way into this adventure.
Right. Having sort of like pride and a sense of accomplishment for spending literally 1,000 hours to unlock Darth Vader, or spending $20.
It's the same thing.
I think most people have recognized that that's sort of the compromise, right? When there is something that crosses that line and becomes pay to win from a AAA title or something like that, people feel cheated and like it's dishonest. And they're more than willing to play Clash of Clans, right? And spend $500 on that to win. It's a different thing. And you have the most, like the vast majority of people who can afford to buy a bunch of video games these days are now adults. They're elder millennials and millennials like us who are, used to things being a certain way, right? When it comes, it may be 50 years from now when the Zoomers take over the primary market and they're accustomed to pay to win mobile games and stuff like that, that maybe they'll be a little more receptive to that. But you can't put out a title that costs $150 or scale back the next Call of Duty to not be bigger and more explosive than the last one. So that's your
games as a service. They took the whole model from MMOs. It's like, hey, what if we don't spend all this money to make a game that you play and beat once and then you're done in a dozen hours and then that's it? What if we like kept the zipper open and then we can keep filling up this bag and you can still keep trick-or-treating for it, but there's going to be more candy and stuff. So it's like an eternal Halloween, essentially. And that's gold. That is like literally gold. Is doing it that way.
Yeah.
So Battle Pass, yes. Oh my God, the content, getting your expansions in there, which used to, you'd spend $20-$30 and buy an expansion that was, an extra 5-10 hours of content. It's just a thing you download now, man. It's just radio waves and stuff like that. So how much that's changed. So yeah, Overwatch. I guess that's still a game. And Colonel Panic, thanks you guys for answering the question.
I'll probably play Overwatch too. Let's be honest.
Game Pass?
I mean, so lie.
I think that there are a lot of I think Blizzard, Activision Blizzard, whatever, is kind of counting on that, right? Like there's a novelty to it. See what we've changed. See what we're introducing. We're going to reinvigorate this game. All of that sort of stuff. But I mean, you have professional players who were. Watching / on this Overwatch 2 reveal, who were very clearly like mortified or uncomfortable with what they were in, and they have to put on like the court. It's like watching the actors talk about the last season of Game of Thrones before it came out, and everyone's like,
worse.
Everyone's like,
but it's worse.
It's certainly going to be television.
Yeah, what an event that was.
Yeah. I just feel so bad for these players. It's not the same as a kid who was a football star that played football in college and now they're in the NFL and they've had all these years of practice in front of people and talking about what they do. A lot of times these are kids that are straight out of high school that are suddenly in the spotlight and under the pressure saying, you've got to represent Blizzard the way we want you to. With absolutely exactly. And you have to be completely mentally stable throughout all of this and financially stable. And, let's not talk about your history because you messed up when you were 12. I can't imagine the pressure that they're under, especially with this new game, finding out that one of you isn't going to be on the team anymore. Yeah. I mean, it's just how it is.
And I think it's interesting because you bring up this point of like these, 18, sometimes 19-year-old kids. Like I think Sinatra was.
I think he wasn't 18 yet.
No, he was on their academy team until the day he turned 18, right? Because he was like the best tracer in the world in a tracer heavy meta, but he wasn't old enough to play, right? And then you go from this 18-year-old kid playing video games, right, and streaming sometimes or whatever it is, to like. On the internet, a celebrity. And I think that's like such a huge thing because like
it's such a danger.
A professional football star, right? Tom Brady or whatever, or even somebody who's younger and newer, Patrick Mahomes or something like that. Like they are international celebrities, right? But they are not. Their whole life is not on the internet the way that an esports celebrity is.
Oh God, no.
And so and I think it's good that we have this intense scrutiny and accountability for esports because there was controversy with Sinatra because of things that he did that I'm not going to say. There's Dream Casper and things he did that I'm not going to say, and all of these people because the internet is forever, right? And if you're like grooming people who are underage or leveraging your status as a celebrity in this culture for your benefit, that shit's going to get found out in a way that does not happen with the same way with like a professional football player.
Right.
And
That's
yeah,
why I'm
at the
glad
same
all
time,
those V-boards and message boards are dead now. All
Yeah,
that
no shit.
terrible stuff
Right.
is gone.
Oh
no.
But you also have these 18-year-old kids who are under an intense amount of scrutiny, and they've got corporate attorneys in their face telling them what they can and can't say and how they can and can't act and all of this sort of stuff. And I like,
it's like being a child actor or something.
Yeah, the idea of being an esports player right now who's like 19 years old and just like got offered like $1 million to play video games, but also all of this extra shit. Like, I can't even imagine it. I can't even imagine.
I mean, the money's just the beginning.
Yeah.
Well, and we were talking about, we're talking about the stress of performing, and especially in gaming. Like, gaming is so intrinsically youthful now. Like, everyone is involved in gaming, whether it's Minecraft, whether it's Overwatch, whether it's like any number of venues now. It's not just the kid who has the NES on the corner anymore and you go to visit Timmy's house. Everyone's got access to gaming. And also now, I'm going to do this, hang on. Everyone wants to stream. And I know Rain is the longest streamer of I think all of us. I don't know how much you've been into it, Victoria, at all, streaming games.
Definitely more than me.
Yeah. Gosh, who wants to stream? I just start. I'll let Rain tell his story, but like I just started streaming in February because I got the bug primarily because of him, and just wanting to have a casual stream where I can talk with people, and it's work. Like even if you have dreams of it just being this place where you can chill and talk with people, there's like an extra hour or two you have to put in every week, even if you're doing just one stream. To get that set up, make sure you got the right stream keys, right? Make sure you got the graphic, make sure something doesn't die or crash or what have you. And Rain, I know you have some perspective on this because you've been on kind of a break yourself.
Yeah, I'm on an indefinite hiatus. Probably sooner than later I'll start streaming again. But if you want to utterly destroy your sense of value and self-worth, then go ahead and start streaming. Because like God. Like every other piece of social media, right? There is going to be a number on the screen that determines how successful you are or are not. And really, if you get really into it, there's a lot of numbers. There's your viewer count and your follower count and your sub count and all of this sort of stuff. How many people engaged with the notification? How many people have notifications turned on? Why did 3 people engage with my notification this time, but 4 last time? Right? Like you can micromanage and nitpick every single element of everything that you're doing all the time in real time, and it quantifies your value as a person because you are, if you're streaming, if you're like me, which you're probably not, but if you're like me and you stream 3 days a week, but you're constantly putting in work to make clips, download clips, update your overlays. Like I learned After Effects to make animated stingers that looked cool, right? Like, and that takes time and watching videos and fucking it up and all that sort of stuff. I treat streaming like a part-time job. That's literally what it is. And it's the most inconsistent, unreliable, shitty part-time job in the world. But you get people who are stuck inside, right, working from home or not working at all and consuming content, and the barrier for entry is so low. It's lower than it's ever been, right? Like if you can literally use your cell phone as a camera if you want to. But
that's what I'm doing right now.
You can buy a mic for $50 and a camera for less than $100. And plug them into your computer and download OBS or probably Streamlabs OBS that does all the work for you, and hit the button and go live. And you don't know what you're getting into. And there are a lot of people, hi baby, there are a lot of people who, and time will sort of like pan out on this, But I learned this during Twitch Sings, which literally you could just stream through the game. Like, it had its own streaming software built in.
A lot of them are doing that now.
Yeah, the barrier of entry was incredibly low, and you wound up with way more creators than viewers. This completely saturated market, and there are a lot of people who are just not good streamers who are streaming and sort of like spending that time in that space. And you're seeing discoverability is a huge issue on Twitch, and payment, right? The 50-50 split is terrible. Patreon gives you way better than that.
Yep.
The adult site that cannot be named pays way better than that. So many other content creation platforms pay way better splits than Twitch, but it's like the only game in town since Mixer shut down. And you are going to be in this incredibly saturated market, regardless pretty much of what category you're in, competing with every other bored millennial on the planet for somebody's attention. And it is utterly devastating. I spent a year streaming Destiny and Destiny 2 for a max, I think, of like 5 viewers most of the time, for a solid year. And
that's tough.
You look at that, and it's like the solutions, right? The solutions to streaming being so stressful and all of that sort of stuff are good. The solutions that are good for creators are bad for everyone else, and that's going to be a huge problem, because if you go on YouTube, if you go on Twitch, everything is trying to get you to create, because the tutorial about how to get started creating is something someone created that they're generating revenue off of, right? Twitch, for every affiliate that they make, is generating revenue off. Everything surrounding the sort of like streaming thing is designed to make it easier and more accessible and simpler for you, so that you can create the content that you want to, whether anyone wants it or not. And being confronted with the reality that most often than not, people don't want to see your shit is just absolutely devastating for a content creator.
Right.
I don't know how I've been doing this for like 4 years, because it's like in my system now, and it's I've invested too much in it. But honestly, like, maybe if I could go back and tell my younger self how to stream better or do something different or just not do it at all, maybe I would.
Find an island.
There are a lot of content creators on Twitch, on YouTube, on TikTok, or whatever, who are not going to find success. They're not making good content. They probably should be spending their time on other pursuits and projects, but it's just so tantalizing, right? To be able to like pull out your phone and make a TikTok, and maybe, just maybe, it's going to be big. Maybe today I get that big raid from this person whose stream I've been hanging out in, or maybe this video is the one that hits the algorithm just right and I explode, right? And now I'm Bo Burnham. But for the millions and millions of people on the platforms, that's just not it. Yeah, it is. It's a lottery, right? In so many ways.
It is so much luck. People do not understand. There was a very good Veritasium video not that long ago about is it luck or is it hard work? And it's like, it's both. It's both. It literally, so because streaming or even YouTubing, I mean, they're different flavors, but they it's the same. All the kids want to do it. They want to be a big YouTuber with 1 million subscribers, or they want to be on Twitch and they want 50,000, and they want the chat to look like a waterfall. Right, exactly. And it's like, you can sit there and tweak your thumbnails to oblivion. You can sit there and tweak your titles to oblivion. You can get all the feedback that you could ever want from every subreddit, because there's a bunch of them, and it's not going to do anything. And then meanwhile, some guy whips out his phone. All of a sudden, he goes from 2 followers to 20 million because he did the double rainbow thing. Right. And there's no way of telling exactly how any of that stuff works. It's not a meritocracy. It's not, you stream so many hours a week, or you make so many videos, or, your CTR is this high or something like that. This is where he gets really angry about it. And you just, there's no achievements. And that's actually one of the interesting things. Like, I haven't set up any Twitch, anything on any of my feeds. It all seems like a nightmare. I just want to put on a thing where I can talk live, and there's just so much gamification and things like that you have to consider, and it can be overwhelming because it's one thing to have all the equipment. It's another thing to know something about gaming. It's another thing to be in the same game as other things or other players playing the same game. But if you're not a showman, if you don't have any sort of charisma, if you're not interacting with the chat, if you're just like sitting there like click, 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 click. Hey, so thank you for watching my stream. Please come back tomorrow.
Yeah.
I'm going to play Minecraft with this mod, and I hope you'll be fine. Okay. Click. And it's like, there's so many skills to learn, and then when you've learned even to be competent in so many of those things, it's still, well, let me grab my umbrella and run out into the rainstorm and see if thunder strikes. I guess thunder doesn't strike, lightning does. Yeah. But you know what I mean.
What I'm going to name drop a little bit because I'm always very happy for my friend's success. But there's a very prominent Twitch personality now, the stock guy, who I've known since he had like less than like 50 viewers. Like when he was brand new on Twitch, I met him through a mutual friend's chat, and we like sort of hit it off. And I always, like, people have asked me, like, did you think he was going to make it big? And I was like, yeah, like, it was obvious he was going to make it big. He just had to be ready for his moment. And I told him this all the time. Like, it's not about like being like the best streamer in the whole wide world and grinding it out and building it up or any of that sort of stuff, because that's not how people get huge. It's about being ready for that moment. I had a friend in my old Destiny clan who got raided by Ninja with like 50 or 60,000 people, and he was not prepared. It was overwhelming, and he had the opportunity to really capitalize on this moment and blow up. Right, like 60,000 Fortnite watchers are now watching your Fortnite stream, and he biffed it, and
no.
And he could have really it could have been a life-changing moment for him. And with the stock guy, with all of the recent sort of stock market turmoil and GameStop and AMC and all of that sort of stuff, right? That was his moment, and he seized it. And at one point, had like 170,000 viewers, and like was interviewed by AOC on her stream and all of this sort of stuff. And he'd spent all of that time getting ready for that moment and being ready to deliver something that nobody else could at the time that was right. But that's such a fringe case, right? He's like one of 5 people streaming about stocks on Twitch. But I still put together my stream as if, when I do politics, probably not, but maybe tonight Hassan is going to raid me or something like that, because it does happen. Shit like that does happen. And whether it's 50,000 people from Hassan or XQC or 1,000 people from some partner you've never heard of, you need to be on. You need to be ready. And that is exhausting.
You need to have your script ready.
Yeah. So all of the hard work is really hard work, and you're doing it all the time, every day, before, during, and after every stream to be ready for that big moment. And most of the time nobody sees it. Like I've been thinking about lately sort of doing a short film about sort of like the behind the scenes of my stream, where I'm like sort of recording not just, the stream that people see, that's like a tiny piece of it, but all the work that goes in outside of that. Because it's hours and hours and hours if you're really trying to succeed on the platform, because it's not just hard work. It is that luck piece. And a lot of people, that lightning never strikes. A lot of people make phenomenal content that no one ever sees and no one ever will. And you can go into just about any game, any category, major category on Twitch, and go down to like the 3 or 5 viewer people, and you're going to find someone making incredible content, whether they're silver or challenger. And that's why you're coming there. You're going to find a person who has just the slickest production, really good audio quality, really engaging with chat and all of that, and no one's watching them.
Yeah, it's terrifying. And then you look at that as someone who is starting out, and you're like, no, that's not going to be me. That can't be me. I think of me, and I'm up like definitely up there somewhere, and this guy's like right here. I know, I'm watching this, I'm learning from them, I'm going to do so much better. And the idea, like, I almost feel sorry for people who are coming into middle school, high school, college and stuff like that with this mentality of wanting to go stream and stuff like that, because there are so many fundamental skills that you have to learn today that we didn't have to learn 5 years ago, 10 years ago, 20 years ago or something. Like, I remember my first content I ever uploaded was on Newgrounds. And who do you have to impress on Newgrounds? The Newgrounds people. That's it. Yeah. Exactly. You're not having to, we're mentioning in the chat, your social media crash, plus having to do all the social medias. Did I get my message out to every single platform? How important is that platform? Do I have a Discord? Do I have a Twitter? Am I on Instagram? And I'm going to let you all know about that later. But it's just being available and meeting people where they're at. And so you're a salesperson as well. You're selling
your sales,
yourself.
Yeah, you're marketing, you're
constantly.
Advertising, you're doing all of these things. You know, I've got students that when I'm teaching video editing that they think, oh, you know, overnight I'm going to be a streamer, I'm going to be in Hollywood. It's like, you know, this is just a little grain of all the knowledge that you're going to need. You know, I can do my best to put you where you need to be here, but, you know, I can't tell you how to market your channel. You know, nobody knows that better than you do. And I can't imagine the kind of stress that you guys go under. And at the same time, like, the amount of resources that people have now are so much more than they've ever been. So, you know, there's good and bad to it.
And with the recent sort of like controversies on Twitch and stuff like that, part of the reason why the sort of Twitch and YouTube platforms constantly are kind of being pushed is because even if you're a huge creator, you're still fighting for people's attention because there's other huge creators, right? And so you've got to be sort of one step ahead of the game all the time, even when you're at that level of not just like what content am I producing today, but what is going to keep people engaged so they come back next week, next month when this person over here is doing some cool new thing, right? GTA RP blew up, and then that's what everybody started watching, and so that's what all the big streamers started streaming. All of that sort of stuff, this hot tub meta, right? That we saw on Twitch, right? And so they create a new category, right? They're like, look, we don't mind this content. We just want to be able to sort of sequester it to its own category so that people don't have to see it if they don't want to. But that's not where the viewership is. So people stop doing hot tubs and start doing, farting into microphones and getting banned for it or whatever, right? Like they do this sort of like highly sexualized ASMR stuff. Like the meta shifts and they shift along with it so they can stay in the category that's lucrative for them. And that's work. That takes a lot of time. And, I probably, let's say money was no option or object or whatever, right? Like I could hire a marketing team and say, okay, here's the category I want to be successful in, and here's how I want to be marketed, and this is what I want to do. And they're going to come back with a bunch of like, well, okay, but don't do this and don't do that and don't make this kind of content and never do this thing that you say is really important to you, right? If you want to be successful on Twitch, you need to check all of these boxes, and if you don't, you're fucked. And people don't realize that going in. People are like, I'm going to stream League of Legends, or I'm going to stream Fortnite, and people are going to, my plays are going to be legendary, and everyone's going to see how awesome I am at this game and all of that sort of stuff. And the fact is, nope, because nobody knows who the hell you are. Nobody knows that you stream. Nobody knows, nobody watches your content. You're at the very bottom of the list like everyone else. Right. And if you're not on Twitter, if you're not in people's Discords, if you're not in people's chat, if you're not showing up in high profile streamers games with like a TTV username so that people go, oh, that guy's right. Like if you're not thinking about that stuff, you can have the best content on Twitch and no one's going to see it.
Yeah.
And so it's hard work, but it's also like working smarter and not harder, right? Like knowing which levers to pull and which ones to leave alone is just as important as knowing that you've got to start pulling levers at some point.
Yeah, and make sure you've got your TikTok going. Make sure that that's all set up, and make sure you're getting out a short on YouTube, And because you got to cover all of your bases, there are 25,000 bases. You have to cover 20,000 of them in order to even be seen, much less successful. I remember reading stories last year before, about people who were like quitting their jobs and streaming 8, 10, 12 hours a day to an audience of 5, playing whatever random game, and then coming down with heart issues and stress issues, and of course the sedentary lifestyle of, I'm not working out, I'm not getting my calories out, I'm falling apart at the seams, and I'm trying to do this
that's why you keep weights at the desk, you see.
There. Thank you. Use discount code RAIN at the checkout right there.
I wish.
That's the dream. It's like includes paid promotion. I want that on my video. It's tragic, but I mean, it's honestly better that people figure out whether they're going to be good for it sooner than later, so that they don't destroy themselves, whether emotionally or physically. Right. It's really better to figure those things out.
I mean, there's going to be there is a bubble. There's a streaming bubble, and it is going to pop. And and that's going to affect big content creators, big and small. I think it's going to be really detrimental to bigger content creators, and it's actually going to be really beneficial for smaller ones. As more and more people start to like live meat space lives rather than spending their entire life on the computer, and want to cut down on their streaming or give up streaming. It was a fun little hobby on the side to get me through the pandemic or whatever, right? And so the saturation will come down, but also viewership will come down, and that viewership is going to affect the big creators the most. And it will be interesting to see sort of what changes when the last year of streaming sort of starts to settle into something that resembled 2019, right? And how Twitch responds to that, how YouTube responds to that, and how potentially new streaming platforms might emerge from that space, right?
And heaven forbid the algorithm change.
And heaven forbid the algorithm.
Heaven forbid any of that change. Like crime, everyone's looking out for Kirby. Great job. Yeah, it's a struggle every single day. Apathy is a tragedy. Boredom's a crime.
Full circle.
Time is a flat circle. Did you feel like you de-stressed about streaming a little bit, Rain?
I mean, no. My reasons for being stressed by streaming are
voluminous.
This is only part, like a sliver of the stresses of streaming that have caused me to take a break. But that would literally be like a whole podcast in and of itself. So.
Understood entirely. Well, guys, I want to ask, is there anything else that we want to cover tonight while we're still on the air with this wonderful audience that we got chilling here in the chat?
I'm not going to do some self promo. I'm going to do some other promo because it's important. If you are in the Twitch chat, you may have seen my partner, I Am Star Riley, in the chat. She just unveiled a website, all of her like digital art. She does incredible digital collage. She has an exclusive limited edition print run going on right now for these gorgeous holographic 12 by 18 digital paintings that she does. It's like $30. It's an absolute steal. I have a framed one in my office at work. It's really fucking dope.
I can vouch for that too.
You can go to iamstarriley.com/shop and take a look. I will drop it in the chat. Go and support my partner. She is recovering from the acute trauma of her mother passing, which dredged up a whole bunch of like old childhood shit. She's been struggling with her PTSD to the point where it's been debilitating over the last year, on top of all the other stuff with the pandemic. And she is a phenomenal person and artist, and is trying to make her way in the world and show off her talents and make a little bit of money for it. So go and support her, because she deserves your support. She's one of those content creators that is sort of like fighting right in the miasma of other content creators to sort of rise up.
Awesome.
Go check it out. I'll put it in both chats.
Yeah, IamStarRiley.com. Victoria, did you have any shout-outs or things you're working on or stuff to promote or what have you that you want everyone to know about?
I was going to say something, but Rain just reminded me, I think it is PTSD Awareness Month. So please support those initiatives, especially with I Am Star Riley. I think that would be a great option for us today, since we've been talking about it. So that's what I'm going to close out with.
Oh,
excellent.
That's
All
sweet.
right. Now I get to talk about myself for a minute. I want to thank my panelists for being here. This all kind of came together pretty quick. All of these shows are so far. This is a new show. We're doing a thing. But if you could drop a like if you're on YouTube and help the algorithm, smash that like button. Really good. I want to thank everyone who's in the chat watching live, and I want to thank everyone who's going to be watching this in the future. If you happen to be watching this 75 years in the future, please be sure to visit the Nth Review gift shop and museum and leave a tip. That will help immensely. Subscribe if you're on wherever platforms I'm at, YouTube and Facebook. Follow on Twitch. Thank you. Check out the Patreon. I've got my Patreon supporters. They help me afford food every month. It really, really helps. Social media everywhere. I don't want to bore you with that. This Saturday, I've got a green room stream before I change the format. We're going to talk about that later. But it's my birthday stream. We're going to start at noon. We're going to play a bunch of different games instead of just one. And we're just going to have a blast. And hey, next Thursday, we're going to have another Nth Forum. So I hope you'll come back. I hope my panelists will come back. And I had a lot of fun. I hope you guys did too. And hey, I'll see you next time.